Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another The Proof is in the Proof cocktail. Here with Thadryan again. He's got a cool cocktail for us.
Still going.
I think we're cordially invited to try it.
Yeah, I got the idea for this when I walked into my house and there was a little tray of cordial cherries just sitting there with like 2 cherries left in it with no wrapper on it, just sitting on the table, and I was like, that's stupid, but it gave me an idea. To turn something that's not a cocktail into a cocktail.
Makes sense.
We could probably do a whole series of videos on this.
We could.
But I just said, why don't we try making a cherry cocktail, a cordial cherry cocktail video? Like, what would it look like if you were to take that little candy and turn it into a full cocktail? So, usually you get these for 99 cents at a dollar store to give somebody that you don't really care about for a Christmas gift, or somebody in the office gives it to you and you feel bad because you forgot to get them anything.
Or they give it to you and you're like, oh wow, this person doesn't actually care about you. I can tell by the fact that they stopped at Family Dollar and bought Zachary's cherry cordials right next to the Chia Pets.
What we're gonna do is, you know, if you were to bisect one of these things perfectly cleanly, like they do on the box, even though nobody.
Right, you get the cherry that has a little tiny bit of like semi-transparent goo, and then you get the more like frosty looking pink
slightly
goo,
creamy pink goo,
and then you get the hard chocolate exterior.
That's correct. That's exactly right. So
can we talk about the
we'll go from the well, so the cherries will be the heart of the cocktail. Those will just go in the glass.
Right. So we're using cherry juice and cherries.
Yep. We'll work our way out. We'll work our way out.
Okay.
So from the cherry, you get the more milky stuff. So I'm gonna take. We don't need that yet. I'm an expert at this. I've done this once when I was kind of winging it.
Right.
I had a few
So we're not
cocktails.
starting at the center.
I'm feeling.
We're starting at the almost center.
We're starting with the creaminess. Assume the cherries are at the center of the cocktail, but for our purposes, they'll go in last because they're more of a garnish. We're moving out from there with the creamy parts. We're going to take 1.5 ounces of half and half. And I have a few ice cubes in here. We're not going to shake it up at this point and get crazy with it. And so I put 1.5 ounces of half and half, and we're going to do 1.5 ounces of whole milk because it's supposed to be pretty creamy. Now we will be taking it to the next level in a little while. So we have 1.5 ounces of that, 1.5 ounces of this. Now we have our sort of the stars of the show right here, the ubiquitous treat that nobody likes other than to put in the bottom of a Manhattan generally. We're going to take 0.5 ounce of the juice right out of there. Get all that good high fructose corn syrup goodness. We're going to go right in. I like to add, I say that like I've made this more than once. Sometimes you have a few cocktails, you're feeling loose, you get creative, things happen.
Alright, a little dash of vanilla.
I put a little dash of vanilla. Personally, I'm a 2-dash man.
Okay.
Now our spirit is 2 ounces of whiskey. I don't bother drinking anything that doesn't have 2 ounces of whiskey in it, more or less.
Unless it's got 2 ounces of gin.
Unless it's got 2 ounces of gin in it. So we're going to go 2 ounces.
Or 4 ounces of rum in it.
That was just, it was a little interesting weekend. But that's going to go in here. Now we're going to sort of stir this around a little bit. But this is where we're going to take things to the next level. If you want to get a nice creamy thing going in a cocktail, and you feel fancy and like impressing your friends, this is an egg. It has albumin in it, which is a protein that will denature, like any protein I assume, under the proper conditions, which is to unfold its quaternary, tertiary, secondary, primary structures progressively. Usually people do this with heat, which is why the texture of an egg will change when you cook it.
Depending on when you salt it in the cooking process.
Boom. That's a chemical denaturation as opposed to a physical denaturation. But what we're going to do is a mechanical one, which means we're going to shake the crap out of it. That's like not the way you talk about it in the lab. But you're going to crack the egg. Most people are a little too hesitant with this. Give it a whack and then peel it. Now you're going to let the yolk almost fall out. And then just catch it and almost fall out and just catch it and almost fall out and just catch it. And you'll get all the whites out. Now some people will save this for whatever Don't want to waste.
You want to make
stuff.
a custard,
That kind of thing. We're not going to do that for here.
enrich
Now,
some sort of pudding.
there should be a disclaimer that this is raw egg. It will be somewhat killed by all the booze in here, but if you get salmonella, I'm sorry, dude. It's not my fault.
Yeah, use if you're really that worried about it, make sure you use an egg from maybe a local farm that you know how old it is, or use a an egg that's certified free range or something like that.
Now, because we have an egg white in here, and you're going to try to mechanically denature the proteins, we're going to have to shake the crap out of it.
You're also going to work up quite a froth from the milk itself.
Realistically, I can't tell how many newtons of force you're going to put on this, but you're only going to be pretty vigorous, and it's probably going to take a minute or two, which is a long time when you're talking about standing there doing nothing shaking. So it's going to take what seems like several minutes. Now we're going to prepare our glass. My mother, being classy and resourceful, has made us homemade chocolate syrup. We're going to take a little bit of this.
Of course, you can use store-made chocolate syrup. Like that kind with the bear on it. What is it, Bosco's?
Whatever.
Bosco's chocolate syrup?
I'm going to touch the side of the glass and start letting it dribble.
Just bringing back some childhood memories for some of y'all out there whose parents wouldn't buy Hershey's brand chocolate syrup. Got that Bosco's.
And we're going to spin it to let it get like kind of a drizzle thing going.
Kids nowadays are like, you mean Costco?
And you're going to take a little on the plate and you're going to dip the rim in there. So every time you sip it, you're going to get some chocolate syrup.
Okay.
Remove this.
You don't have to use a Game of Thrones glass, but...
Now, you want to get a close up, you'll notice
that we're covered in f***ing milk. That's what you'll notice. We're covered in pink milk. Alright, what you will notice though about the cocktail
a
is
good inch and a half
of foam.
of foam on top.
Yeah.
Now let's drink some of this.
Yeah, we would put a cherry on top.
I feel like
if you would, but
this video hardly needs a cherry on top.
Oh man.
Yeah, when your cocktail made of half and half and chocolate syrup is the second most rich thing going on.
And there it is.
There you go.
I think it's freaking delicious.
It's delicious. Yeah, the chocolate syrup really it cuts some of that alcohol. Because the thing is, you have like I don't know if you know this, but cherry juice, the juice in maraschino cherries is made a sugar syrup made with almond extract to simulate the old school maraschino liqueur that's made from maraschino cherry pits. And so you have that alcohol and then the actual alcohol from the bourbon and a little bit from the vanilla extract. So it's very alcoholic, but the sweetness from the syrup and the chocolate syrup as well can cut through some of that alcoholiness. So, a couple things to keep in mind. One, these are very sweet, so don't get too crazy. And two, you gotta really be careful about the top of the cocktail shaker. I mean, especially when you're changing temperature, you'll notice when you're shaking things on ice, the lid can
change.
It can expand and contract. And
I would also say if your ingredients are nice and cold, you could shake it without the ice. If you like the cocktail to be a little heavier.
Yeah.
This is a little more light and refreshing.
The other thing you could
I think I would prefer it with no. The first time I did it with no ice.
Yeah.
But the things weren't very cold. So
Yeah.
if you want to make it a little more summertimey, go with ice. It'll be a little more dilute.
Yeah, and if you didn't
heavier,
have, if you also didn't have a cocktail shaker, or all your ingredients were already cold, you could just whip it up in a measuring cup with a whisk. Just do that, and you wouldn't have to worry about blowing the lid off your cocktail shaker. Yeah, so I'm gonna go change my shirt. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of the night, and as always, cheers.